It's like only half of the song that I have to learn. You know, Marry Me, Jason, I have to learn that. That's the next song that I'm working on.
I really enjoyed that one you did.
Contact for children with their birth families must be considered for permanent care and adoption so that children develop a positive sense of identity and of their personal history.
It's important for your children to see that you can have a relationship with their birth parents, and we were fortunate that our birth family did have genuine love. They were just not in a position to look after the children the way they should have been. Very easily could have been the situations could have been reversed, and I could have been sitting where she was and she could have been sitting where I was.
To give you any work for the holidays.
You cannot dislike the birth parents of your children because that's where they come from.
I remember in training, birth contact was a big issue for every couple because it's just such a fear of the unknown, because you're dealing with the biological parents of the child you love, and in most cases they've done wrong by that child that you love.
It's a bit daunting when you're first meeting biological parents because you don't know them, you don't know what you're going to get, and I guess you know the children have come from a difficult background, including violence, alcohol.
Going through some concerning discussions that you have with Michael, it was almost impossible not to go with a mindset of being angry and wanting to get Michael's thoughts and messages out there.
In my head I get very angry with them because with Michael his abuse was quite severe. When I'm sitting with her, I feel sorry for her and the anger disappears.
Sky knows her story very well. She will often introduce herself as, "Hi, I'm Sky and this is Angus, my brother, and we're twins and we're adopted." She knows that I'm not her biological mother.
By them having that relationship, even if it only is a 2-hour visit every school holidays, like for Jaden with his mother, she is a fixture in his life and she turns up to every contact. She never lets any of the kids down. He knows who she is. He may not know exactly who she is at the moment, but he knows that we see her.
I remember that once at an access visit, she both gave them a card saying that I'm your real mum, I'm the one that loves you best, and I will always be here for you, and when you're old enough you can come to me. And I didn't dislike her for that. I can't imagine what it would be like to say, you can't have your children, we're going to give them to this woman to raise. She doesn't know me, she doesn't know that I'm going to be a good mum. In her head, no one can parent her children better than she can. So I wasn't offended by that. What I was upset about is in one child, she'd kissed it with lipstick. So she left a lipstick mark, and one child she hadn't. I don't wear lipstick. I went out and bought a tube of lipstick and put it on and kissed the other kid's card so they would both think that their mum had kissed their card. That's what kind of lengths do you have to go to make sure that the field's even.
You've got sections of the boat there already, ×3 it says. Together.
I have only bag 1. We want to open or bag 1 and bag 2?
Lifelong permanence and stability can be supported through a realistic understanding for the child of why they are in care.
Bernardo's talked to you about why they do the contact visits. They're not in place really for the biological parents. They're in place for the children, for Angus and Sky. Everyone always wants to know where they came from and why am I here? Why am I in this position of being adopted and not living with my biological parents?
They also see their older siblings are growing up just as much as they are, so the older siblings see them, how they look now, how tall they are, what they physically look like.
I think if you don't have those access visits, you don't get that reality. They can wonder all their life, well, why has this happened?
Hello. Contact is always a positive thing for both the kids. Michael more so now. The first lot of contacts were really hard on Michael. He would revisit that childhood trauma and he would have night terrors and his behaviour would change for the very, very worst. But he didn't have any of the bad behaviour. She didn't show for a long time and that was hard on Michael as well. When she turns up, it's hard on Michael. When she doesn't turn up, it's hard on Michael because then he feels like, is there something wrong with me? Why isn't she here?
After not having visits for so long, now he's going okay.
And so then you get a whole different set of behaviours because then he feels like he's not good enough. He's got this friend, so he's making real attachments, which is good.
Yeah. Well, it's progress. All adoptive parents attend contact visits with their child's birth family, and this can raise feelings associated with their infertility.
I feel it's so unfair that I couldn't have my own and I'm raising somebody else's and they've done the wrong thing.
My first visit was probably with the biological mother, who initially didn't want to talk to me at all, would call me that carer.
That other lady over there.
That other lady over there. I tried to keep an open mind. I thought, well, this is the children's biological mother. And I didn't want to develop a sense of hatred for her, because if you have that, you almost have a sense of hatred for her children.
Jaden's mother, she's just a little girl really. She'd probably be about 25 and Jaden's number 4 or number 5 for her. My infertility will come up stronger with her because she's so young and she's pretty much pregnant every 2 years. I guess I become judgmental of the birth parents' lifestyles and I feel a little cheated, to be honest, to sit across from someone who can have a child so easily and be so messed up and not able to raise them.
This is the first time you met your brother Rowan. I used to feel guilty actually that she had to have problems for me to have her children. So I had to love her. I had to. She was part of our family, and was she with us today, she would have been with our boys all through their lives.
Every time that we come home from a contact, I think, if only you had come from me. You know, he's my son. If only you had come from me, this wouldn't have to happen. Did you sing songs today with teacher?
It wasn't at the access visits that you feel it. It's more because Sky has said a few times, "You're not my mother anyhow," when I've tried to discipline her. You don't expect a 3-year-old to say, "Well, you're not my mother anyhow." And I think initially it's quite hurtful.
I prepared myself for "You're not my real mother." My real mother would let me do that. My real mother would do it. And they've only said it once, and it kills the first time you hear it.
Contact arrangements are different for every child, but frequency and duration is a carefully considered process for all children.
We didn't mind even the biological families to know the boys, and we took them up to their grandmother up in Queensland and their uncle and their cousins and things like that.
The boys are really interested in
family.
family in general, not just their birth family, but
Wanna know
family
who's
in
who
general.
and what.
I think that's a terrific thing.
It is, because
To
it's
be
all
family focused.
50 Ks.
So you need to put that one on there like that. Okay, you do it. Hold it. Hold it.
Initially, we had access visits monthly. So we would see the biological father 1 month, and then the following month we would see the biological mother. The access visits were always supervised by Bernarda's caseworker.
Give it back to Sky and she can do a little bit now.
Well, I'll actually do most.
They were both allowed 4 visits per year each. Most of the time, initially, they chose to come together.
Angus and Sky are actually the youngest 2 of 6 children. Some of the access visits included all of the siblings, and some of the access visits just included one of their older brothers who's 2 years older than them. We would meet usually at a park or a play centre when they were younger.
She might not be well enough to see them when we had arranged a visit.
We were flexible.
We would be flexible, and we would see her whenever she was well enough, and we would actually see her more often if she asked for it. Their birth father wasn't as involved. I don't think he had the connection to the boys that their mother did.
He wanted to spend time with the kids and everything at the beginning. Later on, he started getting a little bit difficult.
Where he would say he'd meet us somewhere and he wouldn't show up, he'd forget.
Michael only has contact twice a year and she doesn't always make 2 visits a year. Jaden's, we see his half-brothers and his mother every school holidays. They have a 2-hour play date at a park. It's a more relaxed sort of contact.
Contact arrangements will always be made with the needs of the child as the first priority. Experience and research shows that arrangements must not impact upon the development of attachment between the child and their new family.
Since they've been adopted, we only have 2 access visits with each biological parent a year, which is ultimately 4 hours a year. It's very little impact on our life, and if you just go along with the whatever happens on those 2 hours, what does it matter? The people who are going to influence our children's lives the most at this point in time is us.
I have to be strong for my son because he is looking at me to make everything okay. Seeing her reminds him that he may have to go live somewhere else. And so I spend the visit reaffirming to him, we're a family, we're together. If I can sit next to her, it's nothing to be worried about.
I had visions of them deciding when they fought with us in their teenage years, because I wouldn't let them do something, that they would go and say, well, I'm going to go and live with my real mother. And just hoping we'd laid the groundwork that they could have her in their lives and us as well. There's a nice family shot. You can always tell everyone how well travelled you are.
That's like when we had the birthday.
Yeah, kind of an access visit.